yesterday also. It was like I was eating my favorite editan soup. So it was such a good news actually, to be very serious. Thankfully, we are seeing again and again the private sector coming in to rescue bad policymakers, and this has been the case. Remember that this refinery was politically commissioned by February and was not ready. And many of us were complaining, and when the new government came into power, there were certain crises with the Dangote group. In fact, I think EFCC went to that refinery also, and the headquarters of Dangote group in Lagos, and they took away some documents. They were blamed for, accused of a lot of things. So many people came up with this either rumor or assumptions, or when situations like that happen, people start putting in some is it conspiracy theory or something like that, that Dangote and Mr. President are not on the same page. That is like Dangote was more on the page of the other government. And you have to understand one other thing, that Dangote runs a business that thrives in the relationship with government. So when those crises came, we thought that the stride he has made in this, the putting up of this refinery, we may not see the completion of the whole process. We may not see this thing come online as soon as we needed it. But shockingly and thankfully, pleasantly, Dangote came up with that news. He was in Rwanda, and he came up with that information. And incidentally, he talked about it being enough for West Africa and even the whole of Africa. But it is a very, very beautiful news. At the time we need fuel on the street, or in the filling stations, and for us to use. What we need to see from now onward is how much is it going to cost for end users like us.
Okay, how much is going to cost for end users like us? That takes me to the next question. Why the arbitrary pricing of PMS in some filling stations? What is the cause of the arbitrary, prices we have in our filling stations? Some sell for 86 or 860 naira per liter, some 900, some 850, some 750, and all of that. Why don't we have a kind of a unified structure or pricing for PMS?
Yeah, you see, the challenges, we said it here when the president removed subsidy according to him, supposedly. And I said here, Sharon can remember, and we spoke a lot on this thing, and I said, you can't remove, that the problem with Nigeria is not the subsidy. That nations subsidize sources of energy. That is our primary source of energy. And that we don't need to remove it. That the problem with petroleum supply is in the downstream sector has always been that of corruption. That this thing will not give us adequate supply, no matter what you do. That corruption will only metastasize to the next thing you're doing, whatever you're doing. That if corruption is not fought down in that sector, Mr. President, we are going to still have the same challenges we are seeing. So the reason you see all these things happening is that in the supply chain of the petroleum supply in Nigeria, there is deep corruption there. And until we sort out the corruption in that sector, we are wasting our time. Even in Akwa Ibom State today, remember the immediate past chairman of that petroleum product monitoring committee was an oil marketer himself. And there's no way you can tell me somebody has an interest in that area. Is he going to come in and make sure that we have adequate supply of petroleum when he didn't do that before? So it's not that the man is a bad person, but he is a busy, he has colleagues in that area, and certainly it's very easy for it's very easy for him to be compromised. Okay. You see the point? So that is the point we are saying. You need to fight corruption in the sector. There is so much corruption in the supply chain, both the importation and the supply. Whatever is going on, the corruption is so deep. So if we don't fight corruption in that sector, we are wasting our time. And the only way is to circumvent that sector and say, okay, let us have instead of the government. Because right now, before we used to say that, oh, the challenge we are having is that so many there are all these importers are causing problem. There were so many importers were doing one thing or the other. But at the end of the day, NNPC took it over, you know, and NNPC is now the only importer of this product into this country. Why are we having the same challenges? You see the point? So it is simply corruption. Why are we wasting so much money? Buhari spent 1.5 billion on turnaround maintenance. That 1.5 billion could have built us up to 3-4 large refineries. You see? So, and we did the turnaround maintenance on the refineries, and yet still, we are still not, they are still not functional. You see? So this is the challenge we are having. The corruption is a challenge. If we can't sort out the corruption, let us just forget it.
All right, thank you, Otwako. Let's talk about the cessation of imports of the fuel. Do you think it's going to have any effect on international trade relations?
Well, it will have. It won't. In fact, the impact is mostly in our economy. Importing fuel from abroad is a purely business arrangement. It has nothing to do with the government of any country or where. Remember what he has said. If he is right now, he's even importing the raw material into the country, unfortunately. But if he produces those things, the byproduct, like he said, is able to feed the industry. Number one is going to, because our number one import is fuel. You understand? Then we have other byproducts. Are you getting me? That are used in the industry. If we do this one, the economy is going to grow. Number two, we can supply, like he said, as we speak, which means we have a lot in the tank just waiting to be given out. He said he can take up even the whole of West Africa. So if he does that at a steady, regular price, instead of it being smuggled across the border, like it is done, you know, in terms of relationship, is going to help, because most countries, like he said, are importing fuel in Africa, except I think he mentioned Libya and I think Algeria or something like that. The rest, we are all import. So that can be some kind of soft power we can use, you know, if you are supplying fuel to one or two countries like that. And it would even help the man himself even more, you know, because it will make him to, if he wants to set up refinery in some other country. You know, one thing, most of this refined fuel we import into Nigeria, from stories we hear, that there are some Nigerians who are building refineries outside this country instead of taking them on, because the laws in those countries are easy for them to work with. Our laws are not. You understand? So he may stop most of those things happening.
All right, with Nigeria's inflation as at last year hitting 28.92%, our economy look a little bleak. Dangote's new refinery, do you think it's a game changer for Nigeria's oil sector?
What it is a game changer. I think that
and the overall economy.
That is where I was even going. It's not just it may have very little impact in the oil sector, because there are entrenched forces within the sector who are players, you know, who may not want to let things go. Those who are taking away half our oil production. You know, we don't have an NNPCL that is that independent. We don't have an NNPCL that can put in structures on ground to make sure that we know exactly how much we are producing. You know, recently it was discovered that even oil thieves are putting up cameras in the forest to see when who do you call the civil defense are around, or in the army, you know, to know how to circumvent and get out of the trap being set. So that means there are entrenched forces within the sector. But in the overall economy of Nigeria, number one, the money spent in importing the dollar, because we don't import with naira, we import with dollar. It will further help us. Right now, naira to a dollar, I think it's 1.7. It has gone back. The money they used, they took from our foreign reserve to stabilize the naira is finished. So the naira is going back to default setting. That is the challenge you are seeing. So, but if right now we have a reasonable reduction in the amount of naira pursuing the dollar, you understand, it's going to improve the naira. And then there are other byproducts. We have Nigerian industries who may be using those byproducts from the refinery. Is going to be very, very helpful for the economy. That means that we are going to have reasonable price stability. We are going to have good prices to buy, instead of these fluctuations we are seeing every day things go up 1 minute because of the prices of the dollar. If you are buying this raw material at the local price, you know, it will help the industry, it will stabilize industrial production in certain areas, you know, so it is going to be very good for economy. But I want to correct one impression. They say Nigerian inflation is 30%. I think we should look at it from 300%. The MBS is never telling us the truth. You know, they pander to the positions of the government at any particular moment.
Oh, really?
So we are having 300%. It's not 30%.
It's not 30.
It can't be. How can it be?
How did you come to that conclusion?
But I come to that conclusion. Look, what is the price increase? When they were telling us inflation was how much at that time? Was it 18 or what is something percent? We were having a dollar to a naira at about 200 or 300 naira, and now you have a naira to a dollar almost 2,000, and that is how we determine what we buy and what we sell. And you're telling us, look at the price of fuel. From how much is it 200 or 300 naira per liter or so, 200 plus or 200 plus naira, to now how much are we buying 800 naira? And you're telling us that the inflationary rate in Nigeria is. You see, the first lie you tell is to yourself. The government is telling itself lies and trying to convince Nigerians to believe in what they're saying. The inflationary rate in Nigeria, I can tell you, is nothing below 300%. I'm telling lies.
By your assessment?
Yes, by my assessment. So it cannot be what they're telling us.
All right, to talk about last year we were hearing of the Kaduna refinery, no, Port Harcourt refinery. Then this year we started hearing about Kaduna refinery. Port Harcourt refinery is not up, but then we're still talking Kaduna refinery and all of that. There's still a lot of, you know, back and forth when it comes to our own refineries as a country. Now, what are the challenges that may arise while we're relying on just one refinery to produce for the entire country, and probably even West Africa, because Aliko Dangote mentioned West Africa. So what are the challenges that may arise?
Dangote is a very efficient businessman, so the problem of efficiency is not there in the production, which was what even the NNPC or some watchers of the oil industry were saying. Look, the prices of fuel may not come down because of the inefficiencies we are going to experience in the operation of the NNPC or the 3 refineries or so we have in the country, even if it comes on stream, which up till now, 6 months after, almost 6 months after Mr. President promised us that the refineries, especially the Port Harcourt and the Warri refinery, will come on stream. Up to now, almost 6 months after, we have not seen it. The challenge we are going to have, you have to look at Dangote's operational mantra, let me say so, how he runs his business. He runs business, is almost always a monopoly. Even though we hear the other refineries that are trying to come on stream, being built around the country, but he's almost always a monopoly. And I will discover that Dangote cannot really operate successfully. Many of his factories have been closed down when competition set in. You know, the pastas, so many of the factories, even though you could say that there are other reasons. But he seems to operate better when he is a sole person in the industry. And you look at cement, for example, how expensive cement in Nigeria is Dangote cement. When you look at that same cement in other African, especially other West African countries, like in Ghana, it sells for less than half the price it is being sold for in Nigeria. So one thing you're going to be sure is this: are we going to have low price of petroleum? I will say no, because the products of Dangote business empire are never low. The prices are always high. So that's what we are going to see. The product will be available. That is one thing we are going to be sure of, because of the efficient way he runs his business, but the prices are going to be high.
But certainly not as high as it is now.
Well, it could, we don't know. What we are sure is that the product will be available. The problem we have now, one of the reasons the prices are high now, is simply because of the supply chain problem. You see, the inefficiency in the supply chain, which, as I tell you, corruption sets in. Somebody can just keep on putting something on top, and they have one or two disagreements among themselves at the top, and then they halt the supply, and they'll be telling us one story or the other. So that is just it. The only thing we are sure is that we are going to have supply, but the prices are certainly not going to be
questionable. All right, if you are just joining us, this is Melting Point on Memories 96.5 FM Monday, and we're discussing the fallout from Dangote's pronouncement in Kigali regarding petroleum refining and production in Nigeria, vis-a-vis the reduction in prices, and of course the stoppage of the imports as for June next month. We're anticipating is going to go down or to zero. Now let's go to the
so you know how to plan your businesses. If you're a producer and you need fuel, you're a transporter and you need fuel, you know that, look, I can calculate how I'm going to use my money over this issue, because everything is stable. The reason you see people were saying, okay, the naira has come down, or the dollar is falling, naira is rising, why are prices of goods still like this? You don't really blame these people, because they were not sure the steps the government was taking is going to stabilize the naira in the long term, and they were right. So if I now start saying that, okay, simply because the naira to a dollar, the naira is now 800 to a dollar, are you getting me? And then let me bring down the prices of my goods, even if I went to buy at this price. What happens tomorrow? Are you getting me? When in the next 1 week or 2 weeks or 1 month, the naira falls again, like it has fallen. If I buy this thing, why am I going to sell again? I will not have money to sell. So they maintain the old prices, and they were right. So when this thing finished, when the money, like I said, they took from this foreign reserve finished, and then we are back to where we started from. The naira again is falling, because the only thing that can sustain a currency, is production. Do you understand me? But when you have stability, like we are likely to have with a private businessman in this sector, who has a large enough business or producer to be able to give us enough supplies, like he has said, that it is going to be enough for the whole country, enough for Africa, and enough for West Africa, and even enough for the world. It is breeding confidence in end users, whether transporters, whether factories who are going to be dependent on fuel. You can project your production, your production cost at that level. Is it about? So this is what this thing is going to bring. It's going to bring that kind of stability in not just the production sector. It's going to bring stability in the market, even in the money market. Because if we are not spending these billions we keep on hearing, recently all marketers were saying that the NNPCL is owing them 200 billion. You understand? So by the time these monies are not going to where it is supposed to go, but going to the right places, you are going to see a difference. The oil marketers are going to take their business seriously. You're not going to see this cartelling. You're not going to see people exploiting the gaps. Like when you simply hear, oh, there's a challenge in the market, there's not going to be any product. And what do the filling stations do? They simply lock up the filling station and they work, because they have a union. They work among themselves. Okay, you sell today, tomorrow I will sell. Next tomorrow this one will sell. You see a filling station that was locked yesterday, and you have not seen any truck coming with this thing. By tomorrow he's selling, and the other one who was selling yesterday has closed down. You see the problem? So all these things were gaps that all marketers were exploiting. Now, with steady supply, you're not going to see these gaps available anymore. Nobody will have an excuse, and nobody can even play that game anymore. So it will create confidence in the economy, create confidence in the productive sector, create confidence in the money market. You see, because we are not going to see this much money going out for us to import petroleum again. So, and again, if we can have continually productive sectors like what you see happening in Aba, you can have electricity improvement. I tell you this, you don't need to give Nigerians much. They will take care of themselves. So it's going to create confidence in the economy, and it's going to build the economy, grow the economy. And thank
this from what you have stated now, you're assuring Nigerians that once this comes to fruition, there will be some form of currency stability and economic stability, right? Now this seems to be is a welcome development from your assessment. Yes, but are there policies that the government is yet to put in place, or measures that the government is yet to put in place to make sure, to encourage more production or more productivity in the country?
Right now, you see, like I always keep on saying, every man is a sum total of his experiences. This government in power at the center don't have the ideas on how to grow the economy. I don't see any structure put on ground in 1 year. I don't see anything done. And now the only thing we can see is that Dangote is big enough to be able to take steps that can have serious impact in the economy. That is all we can say. To say that the government has put in any structure, there's nothing done. This is a private venture, and they are taking steps to help us. What has the government done? Look at even the petroleum sector itself. Look at what Mr. President told us. Is the reason you see the inflation running through the window in Nigeria by coming in to make some certain strange statement on his inauguration day. You understand me? Which was very wrong, like I keep on saying. It's very, very wrong for him to have made that statement. That is number one. Number two, Mr. President said, I am going to work on the refinery. And up to today, the refineries has not been worked on. You know, he said on the 31st of December 2023, NNPC, the Port Harcourt refinery is going to come on stream. The Warri refinery is going to come on stream. We are still waiting. We have not seen it. And number three is that the confidence, you know, because sometimes confidence is a very serious economic factor. The confidence Nigerian has in the statements he makes are not there. So everybody is scrambling to see how he can survive business-wise. Because we know there is no statement Mr. President will say today that you are going to go and rest and say, look, Mr. President has said this, we bank on the statement, it's going to come to fruition. So it doesn't happen. So these are the situations. So there is no policy Mr. President has put on ground to say, okay, let us that would actually grow the economy. We are going to more and more depend on actions of private sector operators like Dangote, and we hope there are other big players who are going to come into critical areas of the economy to see how they can help Nigeria stand on its feet. But to depend on this government at the center, I think no Nigerian should do that.
Okay, let's come to us Nigerians. Based on the fact that we're expecting or anticipating the petrochemical industry and other industrial concerns to improve, what advice or what is your take concerning the farmers who are who will be in need of fertilizers, and of course the plastic industry? Certainly that there will be a boost there. So what is your take on those that deal on these things? What would you advise them to do based on this situation?
Well, I don't think I have any advice to give to those people.
Yeah, because they have to position themselves.
No, they are already positioned. The problem has never been them. The problem has always been government that has not put structures on ground for them to be able to benefit from. They are not big players. They are small players. I have there's a gentleman in Uyo here who produces plastic bottles, and this is beauty to his ears. You know, there are a lot of people. I have people who produce toothpicks in this town. You know, private players in this sector. So the problem is not, those guys are already positioned to benefit. The thing is that, thank God we have a big player has been able to do this for the country to see how it can help the economy grow. It's going to be in the best interest of this country to have this product no more imported from abroad, but easily accessible. Let us hope that the promises of Mr. Dangote that will come to fruition, and it will help us to forget about the high cost of cement, which is a challenge to us now. And we hope that the prices of this product, him being the sole producer locally now of this product, will not be too high for Nigerians, you know, so that we can afford to buy it. So that when somebody who is a producer will say, look, this one is cheaper than the imported this thing. Are you getting me? So let me patronize this. But when you notice that the imported product is going to be even less expensive than the one you see at home, the people may look to that. But again, I will say that the government should, if the moment these things come on stream, you have this byproduct coming up for plastic, for so many other products they were talking about, that they should stop the importations of those other the same product from foreign producers from maybe China or anywhere. Most of these producers import those products from, and they should make some laws to stop it. Let us hope that the one produced locally is going to be far cheaper and more durable and more of a quality product than the ones brought in from abroad. If it happens like that, it's going to really be helpful for the local economy.
Yes, primarily Nigeria imports from Netherlands, Norway, the United Kingdom, Belgium, and India. We're anticipating an oil boom, be that as it may, all right? And how does this affect our exchange rate?
You see, the exchange rate, the moment, because what is causing the problem with the exchange rate is that we are a service, we are a consuming economy, we are not a producing economy. Everything we use here, even in this studio, you can look at it, virtually everything in this studio here, not even one is being coupled in Nigeria. You can just decoupling, just to import the part and put it together. It's not being done in Nigeria. So everything is imported. With the moment you keep on reducing, especially the major and cardinal product that we import, which is petroleum. Petroleum is the #1 import into this country as we speak. The moment we can cut it out to zero, like Mr. Dangote has told us, I can tell you that it's going to be a great boost to our currency, and it is likely going to help bring down the prices of goods in the market for the end user, because those importing will still import, certainly, because there are a lot of products we don't produce locally. We are still going to import, but they are going to buy the dollar at a cheaper price than what is being bought today. And another thing we need to understand is that if by the time you have production locally going up at a high level, a lot of other players are likely to come into the productive sector, and we have a place like Aba. A lot of producers may likely go there to start producing things that we are going to use locally, which right now we are still importing. So it's going to be very, very helpful for the local economy.
All right, Otuakong, how does this development position Nigeria to begin exportation?
Yeah, exporting to West Africa, that is the end product, the final product, like he said.
Yes.
The West African market is a very good opportunity. If Nigeria had other refineries up and running, we would have benefited a lot from selling to most of these countries, which unfortunately we are not doing. But you see, to say where do we stand in the community of the OPEC nations? Well, OPEC, like I said, is just a group that comes in to control the oil production and how it is sold, the crude oil, the initial raw material. And I tell you this, that Nigeria does not have even a strong standing. If you look at what Niger Republic has just done, they've been able to produce their 2 oil fields. They've been able to lay a pipe